It's been 2.5 years since NIKKE came out, and clearly there is power creep just like in any gacha, but in NIKKE we still have some characters from day one that are still relevant to this day. By relevant, of course, we talk about elemental content and raids, since that is the end game of NIKKE, getting rocks and just doing raids, unless you enjoy pushing hard mode, but that's only every 3 months when there is new content to do so. That said, today I want to be talking about characters from day one, like I was saying, that are still somehow relevant for raids, and some of them are even still meta, even though we could say they are falling off completely out of there as well. That they are still here 2.5 years after the initial release already says a lot about how good these characters are. Before we start, as usual, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to help me grow the channel. Thank you to all my subscribers in YouTube and also on Ko-fi. You have the links in the description down below if you want to join them. And we can directly start with Verse 1 characters. There is only going to be a few B1s and a few B3s. In fact, let's get this out of the way already. There are no good B2s from day one, at least that I can remember. Because when we talk about like a good B2, the only one from day one that we were using was Sefhi. And then we started using Novel for the raids, Dola for cooldown reduction, but she's not even used nowadays, and then Noah for some cheesing when it comes to like her taunt. But that's it, like they are not good characters. I'm not talking about PvP, by the way. I'm gonna be talking about exclusively PvE. But when we talk about Sefhi, there is absolutely no reason, sadly, to be using her. I really like Sefhi. I hope she gets a treasure or an alt or, you know, a glow up. She deserves it. Really good character. I like her design a lot as well. So same for Novel. I like her design a lot. I hope she gets a better skin at some point instead of this or the Tencent skin, the fucking penguin skin. But that's the point of the video. There is no good B2s from day one. Everything we got was afterwards, because you could be saying Biscuit, not the day one, Viper is not the day one, Guilty is not the day one character either. Like most of the characters we got were after release, and of course on the recent months, like on the last 6 months, maybe a year, with Grave, with Crown, and with all of the different duo characters we have right now. So B2s we are not gonna be talking about. Let's start with the B1s. Now, obviously, I'm not gonna be including treasures in this list. This is day one characters that still, with their kid, are surviving the power creep in NIKKE. And we're gonna start with everyone's favorite, Grandma, okay? Now, Little is falling off of the meta right now. She is right now in a lot of raids. You can start to keep using her depending on what teams you have built. But 2.5 years into the game, she is still one of the best cooldown reduction characters we have, and her buffs are also really good. She repairs the cover, she buffs, she has the cooldown reduction, really good attack buff with 66% on a 20-second B1 character. She's incredible. Since day one, she stayed on top on the B1 list, and nowadays, of course, we have better options with Rapid Red Hood, with your Declare Wife, with your Raw, with everything else, but she's still here. The other character that I want to mention for B1s is going to be Rapunzel. Now, Rapunzel is a character that a lot of people forget about, but on most raids, there is two types of raid players. The tryhards that like to just min-max absolutely every single team, and the people like me who always put the healer on every single team because I want auto. And in that case, Rapunzel has been since day one used on basically every single type of raid content when you want a healer. Union raid is different, now with the hard mode that we have, healers are coming back, but for the most part on Union raids. She's a fantastic character, one of the few characters, we only have 2 in fact, that can revive 3 now. 3, I think Mana can revive now, or whoever it was, I don't remember. 3 characters that can revive. Of course, her biggest downside is that she's only healing 3 characters, not the full team. So if you're using Crown, you need to be aware of the positioning, and that her burst is 60 seconds, so she's always going to be an off burst rather than your main B1. Now, when it comes to B1s, there is only one more that I want to be talking about. It's not going to be Doro because she is not a day one character. It's going to be Volume. Now, Volume is on a weird spot. At the beginning of the game, Greed was useless. And it's been almost until this point pretty useless, unless you're using specific characters that now can take a little bit more of advantage. But still, she's seeing a resurgence on usage, and maybe she gets a treasure in the future, but she is right now on that line between you can completely drop her on raids depending on your team compositions, but a lot of people who don't have 5 cooldown reduction characters are still using her. So still she will be on this list because, my god, she is still probably the ass that got a lot of people to play this game from day one, let's be honest for a second, okay? So we still need to thank Volume. Great character, sadly her buffs are not that good, her skill 1 is complete dog shit. So you could just be focusing on a skill 2 on Percy if you want to build her. But she is still from day one a great unit. Something that a lot of people don't notice because they're focusing on the upper body of volume is that she is wearing those heels with socks. What the fuck, shift up? So that's it about big ones. That's gonna be it for the big one list. There could be a couple extra mentions, like let's say Miranda right now for the Snow White team. But I feel that's a niche that unless you have a Snow White, you are not using. But then again, it could be like a good mention still to have, right? Like the Snow White lovers, you've been using Miranda since day one. She lost some usage on the recent months, but with the treasure, she's seen a resurgence in usage, if you will, right? She's back as the main big one for the one-shot teams. Still, I don't want to include her on the list. I'm gonna only be including Litter, Rapunzel, and Volume. That's for the big ones. Now let's move into the B3s that from day one are still used or are still relevant. When we say used and relevant, again, we are saying that they are still teams 4s, teams 5s for the most part. They are no longer those team 1 characters, but it's still used. There is a couple B3s I want to talk about. Once again, I'm not going to be including treasures. So Laplace is out and Helm are out, and they are not day 1 characters. Was Laplace a day 1? I never remember, guys. Was Laplace a day 1 character, or was she like the second banner? I never remember. Whatever, we're not including either of them. The first B3 I want to talk about, and was one that all of you know probably, right? It's Maxwell, the non-consent lover Maxwell, alright? She's a fantastic character. She was from the get-go used always not so much as a full DPS, but rather just as a support character for her skill 1, which is increasing for 2 allies, charge speed and attack. So she can be buffing your strongest characters, and for that she is pretty good. Charge speed is always good, and it's a nice attack buff as well. It's not final, but it's still a great buff to have as a, for example, an off-burst character, if you will. Her burst is dealing decent damage, but by today's standards, it's not enough. But she's still a character that gets usage, and I hope she at some point gets either a treasure or a glow up, like I was saying earlier. There is so many characters that could really use a treasure. Even the characters I'm talking on today's video, there are characters that deserve it more, right? Like if we're talking about like the big ones, for example, and we say Volume and Rapunzel could use a treasure, the reality is that all of the characters right here at the bottom can use a treasure way more than those two, right? So I don't know what the objective from Shift Up is with the treasures. I'm gonna be talking about that because I don't fucking know. But Maxwell is the first one I wanna talk, and the second, which hopefully we're getting a new skin soon, is going to be Private. Private is a day 1 character that, since the beginning, just like Maxwell, was never used as a full DPS, but for fast reload compositions and also for her stun. She was used for pushing hard mode for a while, for a long time before we got other characters, just because her stun was able to save you from a lot of sticky situations. Also, her reload speed plus attack buff is always good, and you don't even need to be bursting with her. So she's always been a great option. Sadly, by today's standards, her damage is just nowhere near enough to justify bringing here, unless it's elemental content on your team 4-5, but her stun for new players is still fantastic. The other day 1 character that sadly I need to mention is going to be, of course, Alice, alright? Alice is a character that since day 1 she's only gotten better. From the moment people started using her and people started understanding more the game, a theory crafter saw that she was probably one of the best DPSs in the game, and even to this day she still keeps that title as one of the strongest characters we have. She's also pretty cheap to build because you can ignore skill 2 and you can get her for free with multiple dupes. So she's still to this day not only relevant but meta for elemental content and every sort of raid where you're using your SBS or anyone who can take advantage of the skill 1 with charge speed and charge damage. Fantastic character, awful design. You can fight me if you want about it. I don't like her, I will never. Now the last 2 characters I want to mention are 2 pilgrims. We could argue they are both falling off, and it's true. But then again, for elemental content, they are still characters that are used. The first one being a Scarlet. Okay, here's the thing with the Scarlet, right? To this day, we still kinda use Scarlet as our bare minimum for a DPS to be good. If you can get past the damage Scarlet has, okay, you are usable. If you cannot even get past this, it's not worth building that character, right? And then, of course, we have other ballparks for what is meta or not. But the Scarlet is still a fantastic character. First of all, she is used everywhere, PvE, PvP, right? For your raids, for elemental content. The biggest problem and the biggest downside, not only for her, but also for Snow White, which we'll talk about in a second, is that they never got a banner. So they are 2 characters that, even they are fantastic, you will never be able to get unless you're just lucky. As a new player, getting a Snow White and getting a Scarlet is really hard. And speaking on these characters, the last character I want to talk about today, and one that I've never used, I don't like her design, it's a Snow White. I like her thighs, big thighs, I just don't care about her or her playstyle of switching the weapon into like a big laser and charging and fishing for crits. It's not a playstyle that I enjoy, so again, I've never used her. I did overload her back in the day, and then I removed her from the synchro. She's 1/1/1. Never got her a helmet because, as you all know, I am pretty unlucky when it comes to helmets for pilgrims. But she is the last one on the list because even to this day, for iron content, the one-shot teams are still pretty popular. People built her back in the day and they kept using her even right now, 2.5 years after the release of the game. Now, there are a few more characters we could include in this list, but like I was saying earlier, I feel like when we say relevant, it's characters that are still used somehow. So it's pretty hard to put some of them inside. Even a Scarlet and a Snow White, it's pretty hard to justify putting them inside, right? And then also, it has to be day one characters. A lot of the good girls we have right now, they are not even a day one units, so we cannot put them in here. That said, I think that is going to be for this list. I might have missed a character or two. Do let me know if you guys would add anyone else into the relevant list for raids, at least, or for elemental content, into characters from day one that are still used, right? But that's gonna be for the list on my end. I'm pretty sure we're gonna be live later as usual. Come by, say hello, have a great time. Good luck with your pool, the rates. I'll see you in the next one.